everyone. Welcome to the Microdesk webinar series. My name is Ravali Ravulapati, and I'm the Marketing Manager here at Microdesk. Welcome to today's webinar, Mobile BIM. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, I'm going to give a little background of who we are. Microdesk is an Autodesk Gold, Oracle, and Google partner. We provide technology training and consulting solutions for the AEC industry. We have 12 offices located throughout the East and West Coast with a staff of over 100 consulting and technical specialists. Over the next hour, we'll take a closer look at the range of mobile applications that make it possible for today's designers to do the job from practically anywhere. In this session, you'll get a sneak peek at some of the latest apps available for iPads, Androids, iPhones, and other portable devices like AutoCAD WS and Sketchbook Pro that help you design, collaborate, manage projects on the go. Presenting today's session is Microdesk Senior Consultant Randy Boynes. Randy is an architect and a senior consultant here with Microdesk. His primary focus is helping design firms implement BIM solutions such as Revit architecture. He is certified as a Revit architecture implementation expert, as well as a certified SketchUp trainer and certified eSpecs trainer. Randy previously worked with Revit Technologies and Autodesk, where he provided support and training and worked with Revit's development team. He continues to work very closely with Autodesk to help fine-tune their Revit BIM solutions. Randy also specializes in application of the BIM mobile technologies we're going to preview today. I'm going to go over some logistics before we begin. In order to minimize any background distractions, you're all on mute for the duration of the session. If any of you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the question area of the webinar toolbar to the right of your screen. Randy will address as many questions as he can at the end of the presentation. And if we run out of time, we'll be sure to provide you with our contact information so you can follow up with us. And now I'll turn it over to Randy.
Thanks. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do here is switch to a different PowerPoint. All right, so as was mentioned, my name is Randy Boynes, and I am one of the senior consultants here at Microdesk, and I'm going to be talking about a lot of the different mobile-based applications out there that you will definitely be able to use, whether it's an Android operating system, the iPhone Android operating system, and there's a good dozen or so apps out there that we'll try to talk a little bit about, and I'll get into a little bit more detail on some others, more than others, I should say. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about this whole cloud idea for a minute first. So when you are actually a subscription customer with the Autodesk products, you actually have the ability to utilize their cloud technology. So this is kind of like a spin-off of the applications that are derived from this as well. So some of the capabilities for all of the subscription customers allow you to use what are called cloud documents. It gives you actually 3 gigs of storage space that you can use to share files to whoever it may be. If you've ever heard of like something called the Dropbox or Box.net, it's very similar to that, or even the Amazon Cloud. It allows you to basically have an online storage space which you can then send email links to certain users to actually go and start to look and download the information that you're actually hosting there. You have the ability to utilize Design Review, so Design Review application for your Android phone or your iPhone. The Design Review app works pretty similar to the one that you would actually install on your computer. So it allows you to mark up DWF files where you can then bring them back into like a Revit platform or an AutoCAD platform as an underlay to start to look at this information. You also can start to utilize some of the DWG editing tools with a product called AutoCAD WS. You also have the ability, when you are part of the subscription, is to utilize cloud rendering. So what I mean by that is if you are using the Revit platform, you can export out an FBX file right from the application, upload it to a cloud service, and it'll create a photorealistic rendering for you, and then they'll email you back to you when it's actually done, so you can go and download that file. You can start to utilize some of the energy analysis software that's out there for this cloud system as well. So you can start to generate some conceptual energy using their tools with the Green Building Studio. And then you have a couple things that are coming down the pipe for Inventor, and then you also can utilize an FTP storage area which is called the Buzzsaw site. So you have definitely these tools for you guys to use, which will definitely help you, utilize the whole cloud with your mobile technology, whether it's a tablet, whether it's your phone. You just have the tools available for you. So as I mentioned before, you have 3 gigs of cloud storage space. So wherever you are, you can actually work on these files. 3 gigs of storage, you can access these files anywhere, just basically through a standard URL address. Some of the things it allows you to do is essentially share your design files with other colleagues, owners. Back in the day, you used to have to mail things, snail mail, and then it came to, emailing, but now files are starting to get very large, so now you have this cloud service that you can start to share your files with, and then you can start to very easily utilize the DWF, the DWG. You can keep track of file revisions and updates and things along those lines as certain users are actually using this information. Different accelerator innovations, 2D and 3D design over a simple web browser. Like I said, you can mark up a lot of this information, and I'll show you how you can actually even send these files directly to Project Freewheel from these applications as well, and now you'll see that in just a few minutes down the road. So you can access your cloud documents at this web address here. We can definitely get you this information later on, but when you are a subscription user, you do have the ability to utilize that information. So one of the mobile apps that works with the cloud storage that I just mentioned is the Design Review app. Right now, this one is only for the iPhone system. So iPad, iPhone, you cannot utilize or download this for the Android operating system as of yet. But what it allows you to do is access those cloud documents that I spoke about, where you can view the 2D and the 3D DWF files on your device. It uses the pinch to zoom, so you get the multi-touch zoom, pan, rotating and things like that. Just like in DWF on your computer, you can start to redline and annotate a lot of the 2D information, whether you're in the field or out of the office, from anywhere in the world. As long as you have a data connection, you'll be able to view all of the information, the properties and the metadata out of that. Right now it's in an English language. Other languages will be determined as the program progresses down the road. And then, as I mentioned before, you can actually grab this application right through the App Store. So, iTunes or whatever the case may be, to be able to grab the Design Review app. AutoCAD WS is another one. This is a big one. This allows you to actually edit DWG information sort of in a real time. It's a mobile and cloud application that gives customers the control and the freedom to be able to edit, view, share DWG files, whether it's on your phone or your tablet. And this one actually works with the Android system as well as the iPhone system as well. So you can upload a file to a WS website, AutoCAD WS website. You can share that link with somebody. They can then go and review it, make quick changes, and you'll instantly see them pretty much on the website as well. And you can actually fully send these files right from your AutoCAD platform as well. So right now it's only using the DWG, DWF technology. There are other applications that will work with the 3D file that I'll talk a little bit later on as well. So it works, on site, within that cloud-based system that they're talking about. All of your different browsers are pretty much, compatible with this AutoCAD WS website, and it will be able to be used with your Android or your iPhone operating system. So just to kind of, review a little bit, you can upload your files directly from AutoCAD to your online workspace, extend your desktop, access these drawings from anywhere, the cloud, edit these drawings, from your web browser. Different commands are available. You have your, your command prompt within inside there. It's like a lighter version of the AutoCAD Lite, if you will. Okay, and then you can collaborate with that information. You can always go right to the iTunes App Store, the iPhone App Store, the Android market, where you can start to download a lot of this information. And then let's talk a little bit more about the cloud rendering tools that are out there as well. So right from Revit, you can actually, once again, save out to that FBX file format, upload that right to the cloud area, where you can then start to utilize the rendering tools. And then there's a product out there called Go BIM that I'm going to talk to a little bit later that will actually allow you to review these Revit files on your mobile device as well. create your photorealistic images as well as panorama views and things like that. And you can see that when you are a subscription user, you can utilize it based off of one of these design suite packages or the building design suite packages that you have purchased. And you can see that this actually is in a lot of different languages in this case. And you can access it via this website. And like I said, we can get you these web addresses later on if need be. The conceptual energy tools that go along with it. And there's actually a couple energy tools that are also mobile applications that I'm going to speak a little bit about as well. But you can always update or upload your information right to the cloud once again to understand and have it generate these energy analysis based off of your model. So you can quickly gain insight into the consumption of energy, figure out your energy costs for that particular building, accelerate some sustainable design, changes and decisions during this. And with those other tools, you'll be able to sort of see this and update it as you actually work. Extend it beyond, take it even to that further, where if you want to start to understand the weather data that this is actually linking to and things like that. Different design options, so what if we, rotate the building 15 degrees or put in some light dimmers or things like that. Just other tools that the cloud allows you to utilize. And you can see that once again with these particular subscriptions that you are subscribed to, these are where you get those options from. And Green Building Studio, like I mentioned, this is one of those, just another cloud-based solution. And this you can't really use with a mobile app, but it allows you to still utilize, the information which is on the cloud. And we have given other Green Building Studio webinars, but basically, it allows you to generate, assumptions of your model based off of your location, time, date, and place, and things like that, so you can start to generate some information. And Buzzsaw was definitely another one that you can utilize within the mobile devices. It allows you to essentially connect to, still like a glorified FTP address, but it allows you to deliver, sort of a collaboration idea with your files. It's not necessarily tied to a certain file. You can utilize it with a lot of different files. A lot of different disciplines can get involved in this. And you can start to work in conjunction with a lot of different DWF files with the cloud and the AutoCAD WS app, and there's also a Buzzsaw app that you can download from the iTunes store as well. So it's sort of like a workflow idea here through a multidiscipline, where you can start to see, you're using Revit architecture, you're using AutoCAD, you're using the cloud with Buzzsaw to sort of, keep all this information in one central area. You can start to use the Vault, for some file maintenance behind the scenes, as well as Navisworks, to utilize all of this. But Buzzsaw more or less is handling a lot of this information for you behind the scenes, So you get your Buzzsaw app on your tablet, let's say you're working with the cloud, you get your AutoCAD WS somewhere else in the world, and somebody else is looking at that information because they just now downloaded it from the Buzzsaw site, and then they can start to sync these project files back and forth from that cloud. And so if you're part of the subscription of the Vault Collaboration AEC, you will actually have those tools to download. And like I mentioned before, you can grab a lot of this information right from that app store. All right, so that's a quick and dirty PowerPoint slide here for a second. And what I actually want to do now is I want to open up my Revit architecture application here for a second, because there's a couple things that I want to talk about what you guys can actually utilize if you are using the Revit architecture program. Essentially what it allows you to do is with an add-on that you can install right from either as Project Labs or however you're getting these add-ons, you have the ability to essentially save these files right to a shared site where you can then send somebody a file for them to actually utilize. So I'm going to open up a file here. And in just a second, I'm going to show you how I can actually share this information with other users who are not necessarily using the Revit application. They can utilize this, through a web-based address, which is pretty powerful. And I'll show you that in just a second. And then after I go through this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also open up a couple other things here. All right. So with my add-ins tab here, you'll see at the top, and these are all different add-ins that I've actually, installed throughout, just with practice and playing around and things like that. You'll see there's this one add-in that's called Share Now. I can either share a current view or I can share all views from within the project browser. So like if I were to share this view, what it will do here is it's going to essentially print my view automatically to a DWF format, and then from there it's going to actually take me to a Freewheel Labs website where I can then log in with my username, my password, and I'm just going to submit that. So now what I can do is anybody in the world can now actually, once I give them the address, will be able to look at this file that I'm working with right from the website. So this is one of the ways that they can utilize cloud data. So as long as you can get to this address based off of your tablet, your phone, whatever it may be, you have the ability to start to look at this information. You got your standard zooming tools. So you'll just take a minute for the pixels to actually, come in. I can pan, I can zoom, I can actually get into an orbit command where I can start to orbit around this information. I can utilize the steering wheel that you're probably all familiar with a lot of the Autodesk applications. And then here is where I can actually start to create a join session. So if I wanted to actually send somebody a message with an address for them to log into that we can utilize this, I can very easily start to do that. So we can now start to share this session right on the screen in real time with each other. So we can start to review and look at things. You can even set up, once you actually create a join session, there's actually even a chat session that you can set up where if you guys aren't on the phone or you don't have access to a phone, you can just start to, basically instant message each other back and forth. And this is using the Freewheel Labs application. You can grab this right from the Autodesk Labs area. And if you're not familiar with that, I would definitely Google, Autodesk Labs to get an idea of how this actually works. Now, the other way is to use this AutoCAD WS website that you can see in my bar here. And if I were to click on that, once again, it's going to take me to the AutoCAD WS site. And in this case, what we'll notice here is that it works a little bit differently. This is mainly using DWG information. The other was using the DWF technology. This is actually using DWG technology. And these are all different plans or DWG files that we've actually uploaded to the AutoCAD WS site. And, you can log on, you've got to create an account and things like that. And so if I were to click on any one of these files, whatever it may be, it's going to then load it into the AutoCAD WS website, and down in the lower right corner is where I can start to set up a sharing session. And you'll see that we actually have a ribbon-based system at the top with different tabs that I can utilize. So, I can even start to draw things right inside here. So as somebody is doing this, I can actually save the information, and whoever's using, viewing the same file in the shared session, either on their tablet or on their mobile phone, they'll actually be able to see this information pretty much in real time. It's pretty wild the way it works. You have a command prompt that you can actually start to type in. So if I want to draw a line, it'll actually now put me into, so if I wanted to come down over here and draw just a couple lines, I'll draw a line right there. I can draw some polylines. So if I want to draw a polyline off of that to maybe sort of add something into my model. I can even start to do revisions, put in some dimensions. So if I want to dimension, from a couple points, like from, say, endpoint to endpoint, start to drop in some dimensions. And I'm doing this, like I said, on this AutoCAD WS area. And once again, if I set up that sharing session, the folks that I'm actually sharing this with will also be able to see this. It's pretty neat the way it works. So you get your standard drawing tools. You have standard annotate tabs, insertion tabs, so you can bring in some images, insert blocks, create blocks. You can go to your view tab where you can start to, change some things here, view it in Google Maps. Here's where I can start to set up my sharing session if I may want to. And here's the link that I could choose so I could email that to somebody. View a timeline, so if I had multiple files in my revisions that I was working on, I could actually sort of create the timeline where I can start to review what has been done in the past. And then I can actually output this to a plotter. I can save as, or I can even share it back to another link where other users can actually start to download this information. So that's using, the AutoCAD WS product. So we talked about the project freewheel, where you can actually just utilize DWF files, which would be great to show like a client, an owner, something along those lines. And then this AutoCAD WS would be more for like, internal use, the drafters, the designers, if somebody's working in the field and, they're starting to make some changes based off of a design build situation or something like that. They'll be able to pretty much see this information in real time. All right. So one other thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to open up another document because there's a couple other neat little things that I do want to show you guys here. So let me just go into my folder here for a second. Okay. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the other apps that are out there. So, it's not just Autodesk that's actually making all of these mobile apps, So, for instance, there are a ton out there for viewing, if you will. And Go BIM is definitely a great one to utilize. So I'm actually going to go to this link here for a second. And you'll see this is the image that was actually used in the beginning PowerPoint. What Go BIM is, it's actually an application that you install on your PC as well as your tablet or phone or whatever it may be, where you can then start to translate the information from a Revit file format to the file format that the Go BIM would actually be able to utilize. So it's nice to be able to use this with a Revit-based application. And this is pretty much the only one that I know that's out there that actually will work natively with a Revit-based application. It converts it to a different format, but if anybody's been using Revit for a very long time, you'll recognize this building that's there. And this is the building that, they did it as a sample. But I can take the Revit information and very easily port it right out to the Go BIM solution. So, if I go to the downloads here, just to kind of give you an idea, so you can see Go BIM for Revit version 1.3. And here's where I would download it for either my 64-bit version or my 32-bit version of the Revit application. I'm sorry, of my Windows environment, which will then allow me to install the Go BIM. And right now, it's only for the iPad or the iPhone. So you can only get it from the iTunes, market, if you will, right now. It's definitely not there for the Android market as of yet. All right. Some of the other ones that I wanted to talk about as well, Sketchbook. I mean, we've all heard of Sketchbook. We've probably seen our last webinar on Sketchbook. But Sketchbook is another one of those apps that allow you to actually use as a canvas, if you will, like an artist canvas on your tablet or your phone, in this case Android or iPhone, iPad. It will allow you to start to generate that information. Then you can actually bring that directly right into your AutoCAD software. And if I switch back to, nope, never mind. So it can just basically allow me to, utilize the vector data from the Sketchbook file, which I can then start to run with inside of the AutoCAD program. Another one that's out there is more of like a CAD-like experience. It's called GraphPad. And this one is actually, there's a quick little YouTube video here. And basically what it does is it allows you to actually look at the information sort of in a graphing idea. It's a little more CAD savvy, if you will, because it utilizes a grid. You can actually start to put in some dimensions and things like that. And once again, this is another one that's out there for just the iPhone from the iTunes market. But that's definitely another good one that I would recommend you check out for the time being. And once again, that one's called GraphPad. All right. Yeah, there's a lot out there, like I was mentioning before. But some of the other neat ones here, if I just jump down a little bit, are the analysis ones. These are the ones that really caught my attention. Where you have the Sunseeker, and then you have the Sunbreeze idea. So if I were to go to the Sunseeker one, which is sort of augmented reality viewer, if you will, and you can see this one actually brings me right to the iTunes store here. But this basically, provides a flat view compass and an augmented reality camera of 3D view showing the solar path. So think about being able to view this information of where you are of the building, in hour intervals to be able to, in a winter or summer solstice, to be able to see the information of your model, within hour formats or something along those lines. So just being able to have this data on your phone is pretty wild. So that's the Sunseeker. And then the other one here that I'll also talk about is the Sunbreeze. Sort of the same idea. except this one provides a flat view compass of, showing the local wind and weather conditions of certain data. So think about, like, if you're standing just in your apartment house or outside in your yard, being able to pull up this information to be able to see this in real time right on your phone. It's pretty wild. As you can see, like at the Sydney airport image here on the right, you can see the arrows of the way the wind is actually coming in the southeast direction in this particular case. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of these apps that are out there. And 123D Sculpt. If you've ever heard of the Autodesk 123D technologies, there's a bunch of them that are out there. And one of them, well, if you've ever heard of the program called PhotoFly, it is now actually matured out of the Autodesk Labs into a product called Autodesk 123D. And what it allows you to basically do is take images or photos of any object. So you're going to take your camera phone, you're going to take a regular digital camera, and you're going to create a bunch of photos or take a bunch of photos of any object that's out there. As long as you can walk around this object and create 30, 40, 50 different images of this particular object, you can then upload all of those images to actually a cloud-based solution, which will then generate a 3D mesh model of that object. So what I mean by that, if I just minimize some of these programs that I have open here, I'm actually going to go and open up the Autodesk 123D Catch product for you as well. So it's just, once again, using the whole cloud idea. So if I were to open up an existing photo scene, and I did this, for somebody the other day. So the object that you're actually going to look at is, not the greatest of objects, but it was something that I grabbed quick, that I was able to, sort of walk around, upload it to the cloud-based data, download it. But then what's nice is I can actually then save this out as a DWG file format, bring it into AutoCAD WS, and I can start to view that information. So this object that you're actually looking at right here was something that was created just from digital photos. And if I turn on the cameras, you'll actually be able to see all of the different camera shots that I took walking around this particular object. So where all these, and you can see as I hover over it, it actually starts to show the image itself. And then once like I mentioned, what I can then do is I can export this scene out to a DWG file format, upload it to the AutoCAD WS website, where I can then have somebody else start to review it, and then create a block out of it, bring it into an AutoCAD file, or even bring it into a Revit file as an AutoCAD DWG entity. So the options out there with the whole mobile technology and the cloud, it's really fascinating. It really, really is. So just to kind of give you an idea. Some of the other things that I mentioned, well, that I didn't mention, that still kind of correspond to the whole mobile technology, is that there's two programs out there that we use quite frequently. We use Splashtop and LogMeIn. What these are essentially remote desktop applications that allow me to log into my computer, whichever computer it is, from anywhere in the world, from my tablet or my phone, so I can sort of take over that data, take over the screen as if you were doing like a remote desktop right from your house into your work laptop. So you have the ability to start to bring in that information and start to utilize it based off of these two tools. They're pretty powerful, and I use both of them regardless. Like I use actually the Splashtop on my tablet, and I use the LogMeIn on my phone because to me it works a lot better in the smaller interface on my phone to use the LogMeIn, because instead of you using like a mouse, you actually scroll the user interface to become like your mouse. So to me it behaves a lot easier. And then with that, sort of taking this to the next step, if you were to really take this to a whole cloud-based solution, you have what's also called the Citrix environment. And that's going to be actually the last thing that I'm going to talk about right now. So for instance, as long as you can VPN into whichever server it may be, you have the ability to start to utilize tools that are in a Citrix environment. So for instance, you can see like I have this Revit architecture icon here, and you can see that it's running on a Citrix environment. So if I double click it, it's going to want my password, so I'm just going to go and type that in. If I can remember what it is. hit enter. And now what it's going to basically do is it's now going to start to connect to our Citrix environment that we actually have in-house. And it's going to allow me to run Revit right from my laptop, my tablet, or even my phone in this case. Now, since I can't really plug my phone or my tablet into this meeting that we're doing here, I'm going to basically just do it right from my laptop that you should be seeing here. So what I'm getting at is no matter where you are in the world, as long as you have this Citrix environment installed either on your tablet or your phone, and the app is actually called Citrix Receiver, and this works with Android as well as the iOS. So if you were to actually log into this through those items, you can control and utilize Revit projects and any product out there that Autodesk actually works with the Citrix environment. All of their applications at this point do not work with a Citrix environment, but Revit, Navisworks, Civil 3D, and a few others out there definitely do. So you can see here's like that basic sample project that we just was looking at on the image in one of the PowerPoints that we're looking at, as well as that Go BIM website. So you can see here it is. Now, the quality may not look as good as it does if you were to natively open up this application. That's because in our testing environment here at Microdesk, we actually have it on the low quality right now, just so we can sort of test the waters out and use it for this demo and things like that. But you do have the ability to adjust a lot of these settings and things like that. So now I am actually connected to our Citrix environment in Nashua, New Hampshire right now. I'm actually in our Boston, Massachusetts office. So now I've connected to our Citrix environment in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I'm running Revit off of that. And you can set it up as long as you have your FlexLM with the correct amount of licenses. You can have as many people work on the same Citrix environment to be able to utilize, a remote desktop situation in this case. So think about being able to have this server dedicated somewhere in the world, and you never having to go to an office again. You can work anywhere you want to, and you'll be able to utilize all of the applications within inside that server. And as everybody's saying, it's actually through the cloud, if you will. The cloud is essentially one big server somewhere, planted. But this is allowing us to actually utilize and work on this, either from like a Panera Bread or Starbucks or whatever the case may be. It just gives you that ability to utilize those mobile apps from your Android phone, your iOS phone, your tablets, and things along those lines. All right, so that sort of wraps up what I actually had to show here. And what I want to do is I want to take a quick look just to see if there's any questions. Okay. No, and if there was, actually the questions that are in there I pretty much just answered. And that's really all I have to show for the time being. So I'm actually going to switch it back over to the last slide here.
Any questions here, but if any of you do think of questions later on, please do email at rboynes@microdesk.com, or you can do it at webinars@microdesk.com. That's webinars with an S at microdesk.com. Great presentation there, Randy. If you can go to the next slide, I want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. We hope you found this helpful and educational. If you'd like to learn more, you can take a look at that website that's located on the screen right now, and you can browse through our course catalog. We have training classes on various things, so take a look at that. And on here, you can find that we have free webinars every Friday, and you can browse through our education and consulting services. If you want to sign up for our newsletter as well, please do just email the webinars@microdesk.com, and we'll be sure to sign you up. And you can contact us at the number below. I want to thank everyone again for your time today. Have a good rest of the day. We'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.